Welcome to TLC 10 Life Community, where we dive into the heart of our local community. It's wineries, restaurants, business, and real estate. I'm your host, Troy Anderson, along with my co-host, Pamela, and we're here to bring you a new perspective on what's happening in our community. This week, we also have a special guest on the show, Trent DeVerter, owner of Red Trux. Welcome to the show. Actually, we should welcome ourselves to your show.
No, I'm definitely your show. You just happen to be in my space.
I know, this is kind of cool. We're doing something a little bit different this week.
We're mixing it up on TLC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you all for making the trek up here, first of all. Like, I know this is very different for all of you. We're kind of fuddling around getting this set up right for you all. So, but yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I've had this space for about a year now. So I feel like it doesn't get as much use as I would like it to. So it's great to have you all in here.
Well, yeah, we're glad you would invite us up, and so we hope to get into all things Red Trux here in after we open some wine.
Okay,
I'm like out of my.
I know, it's like, I mean, this is a fantastic space. I love it, but we're kind of a little bit off kilter. But I'm going to bring us back round. Okay, so first up, it's Sipping on Success, where we open a bottle of something from our region. Wine is usually what we go with. Troy thinking an awful lot of noise with the corkscrew. Troy, what do you have for us this week?
I need to find my mic. I have, this is a second label for Upchurch Vineyard, which just opened a tasting room in the Hollywood area of Woodinville. And Chris Upchurch and Greg DeLille and someone else started DeLille Cellars years and years and years ago. So this is a second label that he has, and it's called LTL, and it's a 2021 Cabernet Sauvignon from Red Mountain.
Fantastic. All right, I'm expecting good things from this. So while you pour, I'm going to ask my usual question. Why did you choose this particular winery, and why this wine?
I saw it, and I was like, they just opened the tasting room, and so I'd like to give a shout out to our local wineries, and just bring attention to Woodinville that we've got a world-class winery tasting room right here in the Hollywood area. Well, there's a lot of world-class winery tasting rooms, but this is a new one that I'm excited about.
All right, well, let's do our usual. Let's let you guys kind of put your nose in the glass and take a sip and tell us what you think. So while they swirl and stick their nose in, color-wise, there's a little bit of that bricky hue on it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit, it's not as, it's a little more dark and bricky. Mm-hmm. And it's, as soon as I opened the bottle, the fragrance was just like everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of bouquet.
Lots of bouquet. I like it. All right, so you guys take a little sip of that, and we can kind of dig into the flavor profiles of it, and hopefully some of that bouquet, what you guys are picking out from the glass. You've got your handy dandy flavor wheels there, so hopefully that will help you.
Yeah, I have to brag about my wife a little bit here, because she actually she went to school for engineering, but one of her classes that she took was like spirits or something for like whatnot. So she's like, oh yeah, I had the wine wheel, and every time we go out and wine taste, she's like, oh, I used to have one of those and talk about it all the time. So I should be really good at this, because we're always like,
well, you know what, you can keep that one and we'll just photocopy another one. All right, so what are you getting from this on your first, we always talk about how the first sip is a little bit of an opener, but by the second one you start to get a little bit more of that flavor profile, or be able to identify what that is. So what are you guys tasting?
Well, I'm getting a lot of fruit forwardness, but it's got a lingering finish on it, so it's pretty complex. Red berries, raspberries, blackberries.
I see that.
I was going to say, to me, it feels like very earthy almost. Like,
I was going there too. I was like,
like tasting the vine, as they say? Or is it not quite as strong as that?
Maybe not quite as strong as that, but there's something that's like, it feels very grounded and kind of like the earth. Like, I get a lot of the floral notes there, but there's something there that's just like a little bit of body complexity of just like,
It's actually lighter than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little heavy on the tongue, but it really isn't. It definitely feels like really a summer wine. It's got a lightness of touch when it goes over the tongue. Yeah, smooth.
And it's not too dry either. Like, I know my wife and a lot of people don't like it too dry. Like, this is a very drinkable, you can kind of...
You said you wanted a dry wine.
But this is perfect though. I love it. Like, not too, like, this is... spot on. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying this is like a beautiful drinking wine for me. This is really nice.
It has a hint of the dryness without completely sapping the moisture from your tongue.
Yeah.
This is really good, Troy.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, I don't know why I'm surprised.
I know. Yo, I mean, if it's coming from someone that's part of DeLille, like, that can't be bad either. Like, they have such an amazing setup down there.
Yes,
and
they
amazing
do.
wines.
They
Yes,
certainly
they do.
yeah. I like this one. Is there anything else that we can kind of pick out from this wine? You said red berries, raspberries, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get a tiny bit of a citrus note in there,
Okay.
just kind of in the middle of my tongue.
I think this is for just opening this bottle. It's really well balanced with the acids, tannins, and fruit.
Yeah. Normally when you open it, it takes, normally what does it take? 20 minutes or so, 40 minutes for a bottle of wine to really open up.
Yeah.
And without decanting it, it takes longer because you don't get the airflow in
Yeah.
it. I learned this on the show, like probably last
Not
season.
as much air contact in
Yeah.
the bottle as you would in a decanter.
But this feels like it has been open for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very drinkable.
Yeah,
Very,
I like
very
it.
nice. Very nice.
Well, we are going to continue to drink this throughout the show. We'll behave ourselves while we're doing it. So
You will.
Well, I will, because I have to keep herd the cats. But all right. Well, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna continue to drink this. We're gonna take a really quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna dive into the world of podcasting, which probably seems a little strange that we're doing a podcast about podcasting, but there's a reason for that. We met Trent at Chamber of Commerce. We had a great conversation. This is definitely a avenue that so many people are interested in. So we're going to talk about the whys and whatnots of podcasting, some things that we've learned, and we're going to kind of dig into that conversation and what it means to podcast. So stay tuned. We're going to take a really quick break.
Welcome back to TLC 10 Life Community Podcast, where we're going to dive into all things Red Trux right now. So let's kick things off with your backstory, Trent. What led you to podcast production, decide to launch the business, and helping others bring their shows to life.
How far back do you want me to go? I guess is
As far as you want.
As far as you want. We got all day. Well, no. We've got a bottle of wine.
Yeah, I think it started. Originally, I'm from the East Coast, so grew up in Pennsylvania. Went to school in upstate New York, and I went to school for engineering actually, and then got lucky coming out of. And while I was at college, I did a lot of time like kind of storytelling. I was in percussion groups, did a lot of different things. So it was like I really liked the idea of storytelling, music, video editing, that kind of stuff. I did plays and.
Sounds like maybe you met your wife there.
No, I did not.
You didn't? But you both went to school for engineering.
Yeah, we both went to school for engineering.
Okay.
We just differently because we both ended up out here working for an aerospace engineering company.
Oh, okay.
Probably figure out which one that is.
We don't need to name them.
No. But we ended out here with them, and then we met each other kind of through mutual friends at work.
Okay.
And that's how we became.
That's cool.
And then as I was working at Boeing, got to a certain point in my career, I did a lot of things, got to see a lot of different things in the company, and I was just looking for something different. I felt like I wasn't being heard, communication wasn't going right, so I was like, I really want to go and get a communications degree just because I was doing a lot of it kind of in my last position at the company, and I was like, this just feels like a skill I need to get better at and be better at with kind of the world that we're developing in. So I was like, I'm going to go do this, left the company, and did my master's in a year. At the same time, I left the company.
Master's in a year.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That was my full-time job. Yeah. So that was that was fun. All online, thankfully. It was all online, which was nice.
Still, that's a big accomplishment.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it feels like a blip in my memory at this point. But, yeah, thank you. Yeah, right as I was leaving the company to go and start this, I happened to be talking with someone who was part of the Historic Downtown Snohomish Association, just getting started in that organization. They're like, hey, I want to start a podcast. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to start a podcast. Let's start a podcast. We started a podcast.
Okay.
And from there, it just kind of built on itself. And every business and all the kind of podcasts we're going to talk about have all either been guests on that first podcast or were guests on the guest podcast, right? Like it's almost a second generation. It's all kind of stemmed out from there. And now as I'm building this up, because I made that transition 2022.
Okay.
I think, yeah, summer 2022. It's getting
It's been
very
a
blurry.
while, but not not too long ago.
Yeah, like starting in about my third year doing this
Okay.
full time, and yeah, we were just kind of built. So I'm getting there now, and now I'm trying to get out in the community to learn more and connect and just kind of expand the capabilities and podcast storytelling in the area.
I think it's
That's
interesting.
cool.
You said there, you know, somebody said, I want to do a podcast. You want to do a podcast. We're going to dig into that a little bit later on in the show, because it's definitely a theme that we hear a lot of. Or see,
Yes,
certainly I do
yes.
in my role with Tent Home Team. But let's kind of talk about why Red Trux? I mean, it's an unusual name for a podcasting. And then from there, I want to kind of dig into the shows that you've actually produced. But right, firstly, real quick, why Red Trux? And that's TRUX.
Great question. Because during COVID, when a
Okay.
lot of things happened,
That time you don't want to talk about?
yeah, me and my
That moment in time where everything changed.
Yes.
yeah, everything changed, and I got married like literally right before lockdown happened.
Oh,
So
wow.
me, my wife, we were in our house for a year at that point. We were just like in lockdown. We're like, oh, we need something to do. So we were talking about we love website design. We did a lot of these things that I ended up doing my master's about. But we were like, oh, let's start a company about this, like this. We really like the idea of that inventive, like creative thinking of logos and brands and stuff. So we're like, let's create a company just so we can help people do some little things with websites or things like that around here. Don't do a lot of that now anymore, just because there's a lot of other great people in the area that we've found out about. But that's kind of where it started. And really why we chose Red Trux is I think about when you're driving into a small town like Snohomish or something back east. I didn't even have to say it. He's already like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's that one
You get
truck
that
you know.
picture, and it's an old, I don't know whether it's like a Chevy truck or something,
Yeah.
but it's kind of rounded and it's
That
red.
old red truck, right?
Yeah.
It's that sign that when you're coming
It's a
back,
flower basket now, maybe.
yeah, and you're coming back and you're seeing like, oh yeah, I know I'm home because I see that red truck, so I
Oh,
want
cool.
that.
That's
So
a
that's
good
really
story.
what we want it to be, is that kind of warmth, that welcoming home feeling that you get when you're coming home and you see that truck on the edge of town that you're like, oh, I know I'm home.
Yeah.
I love that somebody's
Yeah,
really
that's a great story.
thought out
Yeah.
why you've called it that. It's something that resonates with you on a personal level as opposed to just a company level. I
Yeah.
like it. All right, so then let's talk about the shows that you've actually produced. So, you know, maybe you fell into this by accident, but you have now in your repertoire 7 shows that you produce. So, can you tell us a little bit about the range of those podcasts that you've worked on and what makes them unique? Because I think every podcast out there has kind of either a niche or a uniqueness about it. You mentioned the Heritage Society of Snohomish, so maybe you want to start with that, but let's talk about those 7 that you have really honed in on.
Yeah. So it all started with the Historic Downtown Snohomish Association, HDSA.
Okay.
And that one, it really started out very similar to yours, of like, hey, we're just going to introduce and talk about the cool people of Snohomish, really get people talking about what's here in Snohomish. The podcast is called Snohomish Storytellers. Very fitting, right? We were talking about the people that are telling the story of Snohomish. So that one's very local, trying to get people going. And they're using it more as a platform now to talk about events and things that are going on in the community, like the First Street Master Plan that's happening in downtown Snohomish. They're going to have the planners and people from the city on to talk about that soon. They just had the mayor on not too long ago to talk about some of that and what it's been like. So that's one of the podcasts. The next one I think that really got started from that was called Soul Filler Diaries. And it was with Brandy Hecker. She's a home mortgage with CMG Home Loans right now. She does home mortgage. And she just was like, I want to tell stories that kind of like fill my soul. I want these soul-filling stories. And she had great people come in. You have to check that one out, because some of the names on there, you're like, wait, how did she know him? It's a pretty cool one to learn and work with there. Jeez, I'm going to feel bad because I'm going to end up missing one of them here. Cause it's,
You don't
it's on
necessarily
there.
have to name them all, but I mean, is there a theme to them? What's what for you makes them unique? I mean, obviously you've got Crusher Social that you do with Antonia, who we also know. People are coming to you for a reason.
Well, it's all different. And again, it's mostly because they hear me, and I think everyone's so different. Like, I think that's what I love too about the kind of collection that I have. Nothing's in the same vein. Like, one of them is about equity, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay.
One's about just kind of telling the stories. It's called has unfiltered in the title of it.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things, kind of going behind the stories that you might not hear elsewhere. And I think people just keep coming to me because I'm in the community. I've been
Unfiltered.
Oh, we can talk about that one later.
Okay.
But we can.
I feel that there's another story behind that one.
Yeah.
But we can, yeah. there's a lot to it, and I think just the sound quality that I've kind of built up, the equipment and kind of knowledge that I've built has been why people want to me. They'll, like, Tony was just telling me the other day, like, I got compliments saying your podcast sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely a step above our equipment.
I will say equipment's not everything though, right? Because if
Right.
you have someone that doesn't have the experience, doesn't know how it works, doesn't know what it's supposed to sound like or work together,
Yeah.
you can still have the issues, right? Like this treated room, I have spent a lot of money and time to treat this room so it sounds good. Because if you try and do this in a parking garage, don't matter how good your equipment is, it's going to sound like you're in a parking garage.
Yeah, you know you've
we know
started
that.
something now, though. You invited us into your studio, and
I
now
know.
Troy's head is like, okay, how are we
What
gonna?
can we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
That means the plan is working.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
We took a boardroom table and just made a podcast room out of it.
No, and I mean, like, yeah, and I think we'll get into that next too, but like,
Yeah.
that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, people come to you, they want to be able to facilitate that storytelling. So I think that's, for me, that sounds like that's where your niche is, or the uniqueness that you're bringing is really fostering that joy of telling stories. And whether it is about somebody's business or their life or something that's happening in the town, just being able to really help them bring that to life in a way that feels professional and well thought out and put together.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I guess from your perspective, what makes a podcast really work, creatively and technically?
Yeah.
I mean, the studio doesn't hurt.
It helps. It makes it look nice and sound nice.
I mean, your sofa's better than my office chair.
Yeah, I know. I'm about ready to throw our office chairs out the window
I
because they
know.
just squeak.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. So, like, what does or doesn't make... I think podcast, when it originally started, started literally on iPod, on iTunes. Like, it was a way to just tell these stories. Like, it was a lot of homegrown in the beginning, right? So I think anyone that wants to do it, it is doing that. But to make it a good podcast, that's where you get into the differentiation of understanding what you want to do, having a goal, an audience, understanding of what you're trying to do, how to tell a story, and all these different things. Because it's, again, you can sit down and just record you and your friend talking forever, but that doesn't mean anyone's going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Or anyone wants
For
to
Joe
listen
Rogan.
to it.
Yeah,
Okay,
but he's got more money than you have, Troy.
Well, now he does.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He probably had money before he started his podcast.
well, yeah, what a lot of people don't realize, too, about the Joe Rogan's podcast, it was going for 3 years before it ever popped up on anyone's radar.
Hey,
I know. See, Trent and I have talked kind of off air about these kinds of things,
Yeah.
and we're going to get into that a little bit more. You know, kind of the misconceptions of podcasting and why people do it, and you know, the idea that you do it and you're instantly famous. I think that's
Yeah.
but when you're talking about the creativity, technically this is how you're making it happen, but from the creative, why can't I say that word today?
Creativity?
Thank you.
Creativity.
I've only
Just
had
slow down.
Slow my roll. Okay, all right.
We're here to
deep
relax
breaths.
today.
I know, we're in a new
Wine
space.
usually helps.
I know, but some of us have to pay attention to what's going on.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing. I'm saying nothing.
Pamela, I will say I appreciate you, because usually that's me. That's just having to pay attention to everything. So thank you. You are doing amazing.
Well, thanks. I've had a little bit of practice with this one. All right.
What do we got, 70-some shows?
Something like that.
But yeah, I think to finish your question, and like what
Yeah.
podcast is, we can talk more about it. It's really telling that story and getting it out there and sharing it with the world, right? Like, you can make it very simple, and you can have a really good podcast with not that much gear, but so much of it is that preparation, that planning of what are you going to say, how are you going to say it, and who are you trying to say it to.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this a little bit. There are still lots and lots of misconceptions about podcasting. Like, you talked about grabbing a mic and talk with your buddy. I know when I first kind of went into the foray of podcasting, there was lots of people grabbing their iPhones and sitting in their closets and
Oh my
and
God.
putting that out into the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it's like, what level are you at with that podcasting? So what do you think podcasting really is, and what should people stop assuming it is? Those big misconceptions you hear from people who are new to it. If you can kind of talk about what you've understood or what you've found from people about those misconceptions. And then to follow that on, let's define what podcasting really is, and
Yeah. Wow.
I like
These
to
ones.
throw a curve.
I know you sent these to me, and I'm like, I did not prepare enough for this. I think podcasting really comes down to like what it is, right? It's an audio story or audio conversation, audio education that's meant to be audio only. Yes, we're getting a lot of these video podcasts there, and that's blurring the line almost into something else, which we can talk about later. But a true podcast is an audio story that helps entertain, inform, or educate someone about what's going on around them.
Have some drive time talk or gardening talk or something.
Yeah,
like that.
right? Like, I think no matter what, like, I think about a podcast, like, you always need to think, what's the one thing someone's going to take away with it? Like, I had a really good time, or this and that, right? Like, it can be entertainment. You want to make sure someone walks away with something whenever they listen to a podcast. It's not, cool, I listened to 40 minutes to something, but I have no idea what just happened.
Right.
I've listened to those.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah.
But it really, I think, when you can get it, especially for something like this, where it's like, hey, what's the one thing you're taking away from this? Or if it's like, they do a lot of really good audio dramas that isn't always popular in the business industry or like with businesses and whatnot, but there's huge audio dramas and companies out there just literally telling audio stories with great sound, like sound design and sound effects and everything like that. So it's a really wide gambit of what it can be, but ultimately I think it needs to be something that entertains, informs, or educates.
Right, and you've got to figure out what your niche is before you start, right? You know, you've got to have a plan, which we'll get into a little bit more.
I think our podcast hits on all those things. We entertain people because we're goofy.
We are goofy, yeah.
Inform, and we educate people on other businesses in the community. So
yeah, we do try to, for sure. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a little bit then, Troy. So, as you know, you're a host of this podcast. This might be a really good time to kind of get your perspective on some of this. What are some of the things that really surprised you when you started our show?
Well, I'd say probably the first few episodes where it was nerves. It was like I was nervous about it, but after, I don't know, a few shows, it's like, you know, this is really cool because it's conversational with people that I really genuinely want to know more about. So having guests on was helped ease the tension a little bit versus talking about myself, because that's boring.
And you're not very good about talking about yourself either, Troy. It's not your favorite thing to do.
I don't know. You know, sometimes I am, but I enjoy giving back to the community. So being able to bring people on and give them our podcast, part of it is to give a new perspective. So to just educate people on what's really in their community, because there's a depth of different types of businesses and different types of community leaders that I think need to be heard. And people, you know, I really enjoy fostering local. I mean, I think a lot of people do, like in Snohomish. I grew up in Snohomish, by the way. So this is my hometown.
Yeah, so welcome back.
Yeah, so it's greater Woodinville.
You say that about everything.
I know. It's not, yeah, I mean, Woodinville actually needs more of Snohomish, if you want my opinion, because, you know, the shops and the antiques, and they're not really antiques anymore because they're, you know, they've got Ataris and things like that, and that's not an antique, right?
It's vintage.
I had that when I grew up.
Vintage retro.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, surprise for you? Were you surprised at how much people really wanted to come on the show?
That was a little surprising, yeah. I enjoyed it, and I welcomed it, and so, yeah.
Okay.
Other surprises were kind of the nuts and bolts behind the scenes, just how much post-production takes. It's like, holy moly. It's not just grab a mic and start talking. It's like, okay, you got to edit. In the beginning, we edited all of our advertisings in post. Now we have a sound pad to where we can just flow through the show. But yeah, I mean,
you were definitely surprised by that. I'm sitting here laughing because Troy's like, I want to do a podcast.
You were surprised because I said, hey, let's do a podcast about wine and businesses and real estate, and you're like, whoa, how are you going to talk about wine for 45 minutes?
I don't think I said it quite like that, Troy.
No, it was. Your face was like, said everything.
Okay.
Your face sounded like that.
Oh, thank you. Just as well I like you, isn't it?
See, I told you we were entertaining.
Well, I'm curious now, Troy, too. Like, how has, like you said, you've learned so much about the post-production and the people that wanted to come on. I guess I'm curious, how has this podcast changed anything about kind of how you do your business, how you interact with people, and and just kind of how you do. Like, have you learned anything from this that changes how you operate?
Yeah, it's actually easier during like networking times to have conversations with people and to learn about their business and say, hey, you know, we've got this avenue for you if you want to promote your business to come on, and you can take whatever you want and use it however you want to. So, I mean, we've had people do nothing with it, and we've had people that have taken it and sliced it up into different snippets and promoted their business using it. So, you know, I think that's been an accomplishment, and I'm happy I'm able to give that to the community.
Yeah, sure, awesome.
So, but you know, to that point, people need. I think if someone wants to start a podcast, they should engage with people like you, definitely. Because you've got it, you're plug and play. You just show up.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the biggest things I get from people that I work with. They love it because it's like, I tell everyone, podcast is either going to cost you time or money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you want? And it's like, if you...
Time is money.
Yes. But I don't think people realize how much time, if they don't have the experience, they don't have the work with this to do it. Because most of my clients, they just show up, sit down, record. I maybe talk to them a little bit, prepare, help them in the moment to make sure everything's smooth. They get out what they want to say. Then they go back, and then they get a file to review sometime later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how much is in post production.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you taking note?
I appreciate you, Pam.
Thank you for saying that on there. I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to dig into that a little bit more, you know, kind of the common pitfalls and really some real conversation about podcasting. So, you know, we've kind of alluded to the fact that, you know, you can do a podcast, just turn up and you talk, but there's more behind that in order to make it successful, at least sound good and something that people want to listen to. So before somebody hits record, it's always a really good idea to strategize. And you and I have talked about this at length, and get your pre-production lined up so that you can avoid, you know, pitfalls like not having enough to talk about or not having a good flow to the show. So let's talk through the early phases for someone that is maybe thinking about podcasting. They come to you and they say, I've got an idea for a podcast. What's the very first thing they should think through before buying a mic and hitting record? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, there's so much to it.
He's quiet over there.
Yeah, but let's be honest. You know, I'm sure had people come up to you and say, I've had people come up to me. Troy's had people.
Oh yeah.
I really want to do a podcast, and I've sat down with them and I've said, okay, that's fantastic, and you should absolutely do it. But what's your plan?
We're really glad we met you, because now we can say, hey, you need to call this guy.
Exactly.
Well, no, and that's what I love to do, right? Because that's what I do. A lot of people are like, hey, I want to start a podcast. Let's talk. I'm like, awesome. Let's do a conversation just to understand how I can best help you, maybe get you started, figure out what we want to do, right? So there's so much that goes into it, right? Like I think just to kind of give the overall statement of it, like beyond even just hitting record, like if you want to be able to post anything even online, like you need to come up with a name, your audience, what's the niche, what are the different categories that this fits into, what's your cover art, what's your description, what do you want people to walk away with, right? Like that's the one thing I always emphasize is like, what do you want people to walk away from learning or with this? So
yeah, understanding what your niche is, understanding who your audience is actually, because that's one of the things you and I talked about really early on, was like, okay, who is this for?
Well, and I follow a lot of other realtors, and their audience is other realtors, and where my audience is not. My audience is totally the community.
Yeah, and that changes so much about how you approach it, right? Because you have to answer all those questions before you go, all right, I'm going to record my first episode. What am I going to talk about? Because it's like, if you're targeting realtors, you're going to say something totally different than when you're talking to the rest of the community, right? So all of that is so important to get that together. And then when you go down to hit record, you need to kind of have your flow of, hey, how's this going to go? And almost every time I do this with someone, the first time we record an episode, I'll put air quotes around record an episode. They listen to it, and I get like a lot of, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't like this, or like this really didn't work. They didn't figure out their flow. But they almost need that to then figure out what it is.
To fail forward.
And I've even used that sometimes to help people figure out people's podcast names. Because they're like, I don't know what to call this. They have so many things they want to do, and then there's one phrase they'll use, and I'm like, that's your title right there. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into it, and even when you think you finally got it, I can almost guarantee you that first one's going to be like, well, that was a fun trial.
Yeah. But you know what? You could use that as your little bit. So I think what some people, and you and I know this, right, is it's all very well recording the podcast, but you also have to have your platform set up behind it. So you talked about the pre-production stuff, but then also having what's your distribution platform, where are you going to host it? So you have to sign up for all of those accounts. But before you can actually even load any audio onto those sites, you need to have a sample of what the show is that you can post on there before you could upload any audio.
A trailer, yeah.
A trailer, yeah.
Well, and you were telling me, I think we had 4 episodes in the can before we released it.
Yes. Yeah.
So it had some other content for people to, if they wanted it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll agree with that, right? That you don't just put one podcast out there. You have at least 3. You release them all at the same time so that, like Troy just said, somebody can listen to one and they're, oh, I'm intrigued. There's more there other than listen to one and then forget it.
Right.
And yeah, that's a whole nother thing you got to figure out is your cadence of stuff. Because I know there's no right answer, I guess, is where I'm going with this. Is like everyone's like weekly, twice a week, once a month. In theory, you could drop 4 a month and just drop them on the first of the month, and then next month drop 4 on the first of the month. Right?
That's fine if Trent's doing it all for you.
That gives me anxiety.
Well, right, but it's like you can record ahead of time. Like I'm working with somebody right now. We release every 3 weeks. One of my podcasts.
Okay.
But we've only released 3 episodes for this season so far. I already have like 5 recordings done, and we're doing 6 and 7 within the next week.
That's what we do too. So we are flexible with our people. We try and steer them towards certain times, but we're like a 6 to 8 week lead time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it should be. Like.
Well, because then you're not scrambling for content for your show, right? You can plan it out, you can think about who you want and the questions and have it loaded and ready to go.
Well, and I like to give the example too, if you look at some of they're kind of like more news style podcasts, but if like This American Life, Radio Lab, they will literally start getting ideas for episodes like 3-4 months in advance and start building out this story before they ever record. And This American Life will go on like NPR and then they turn it into a podcast. But it's like, they literally spend months just for one episode, but they also have a whole team to be able to put that together.
Yeah, it's just me and Troy, so.
Yeah, no, and that's, again, like another reason why we talk about having someone to do it with. Like, it is really, really hard, and you will be so overwhelmed doing it yourself if you don't have someone like me, like Pam's, whoever to really pull it together.
Yeah, I definitely see the value in having somebody like Trent in your back pocket
Oh,
doing
for
a
sure.
podcast.
Yeah, if I didn't have you, Pam, it wouldn't have happened.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Unless you found Trent before you found me. Exactly. Right. Well, if I suddenly
Just
disappear from the podcast, you know what happened, right?
Yeah. Well.
I think that's behave. Okay. All right. So what's one of the biggest lessons then that you learned, Troy, from doing the podcast? You know, kind of a brief pitfall that you can share with us.
I think we talked about it already. Just kind of the bane of doing the work behind the scenes is kind of the pitfall. And so if you're not willing to do that, then the podcast is not going to be successful, I don't think. And if you want to do video as well, that just adds another element to the whole scenario.
Trent's pulling faces over there.
And and technology issues, something breaks or YouTube doesn't upload fast enough and the computer shuts off, or you just run into all these technical difficulties along the way. So those are some pitfalls. I think having a clear plan and outline, like you said, Trent, just being able to stay on that course and be, even if it doesn't go quite right, just continue to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize too, another kind of pitfall, like, oh, it's so easy, just have a conversation. No, so many people clam up. Like even if you have everything written down, right? Like, you just have to have that kind of natural flow, that natural energy. Like, you have to build that up, right? If it's not natural for you, you have to build it over time too. So if you're just thinking like, hi, welcome to this, and like you're going to sound like you're straight off a radio the first time, it's never going to happen. It's just like, so.
Yeah, I had a lot of those aspirations in my mind. It was like, this is the way it's going to go, and then it's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
But you find your own kind of cadence to it too.
Your own cadence, your own voice.
Exactly. And of course then, we provide wine, so that's a real icebreaker for people.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that starting the podcast, but it's definitely been, like we've had guests that they're like tight and nervous and not sure exactly what to do, but towards the end of the show, it's like they're not even, it's like nothing super conversational. It's great. It flows. We get more information out of them that way. So
yeah, for sure.
So you touched on this, and we'll just kind of wrap this question up shortly. But how do you guide people from that vague idea to the full concept with branding, formatting, episode flow? Is there a kind of a quick formula that you have maybe that works for that?
Yeah, I'm actually working on putting together kind of a packet lead magnet that people can get to help organize that stuff and answer these questions. I think what's also nice though is I'm a certified professional coach, so I just kind of know how to ask those questions to help people get the answer out, right? Like I don't want to tell you what it is, I really want to help get that out of you of what it is too, right? Because you can just go and find these templates and things and fill out online, and sometimes it's just so much easier.
Super dry.
Yeah, and it helps to have that back and forth and that human thought of just like, oh, well, this is what I want it to be, and my response can be, that sounds really boring, honestly. Like, what are you trying to get at?
I like your honesty there, though, right? Because otherwise you're wasting somebody's time and money.
Yeah, so I think that's the benefit with me and kind of how I do it is I really just have that kind of inquisitive mind of really, what are you trying to say here? What do you want to get out of this? What makes this there, right? I'm not trying to force anything on them. I don't want them to just go and fill out a packet and come back. I'm like, let's work through this together to really, I love working with people and being collaborative. So for me, it brings me so much energy, and I feel like it just helps them feel like, oh, I'm invested in this, right? Because I am. I want to make sure this is the best that it can be. This is, you join kind of this family.
You're putting your name on it.
Yeah, this joins the Red Trux family, and I'm working on doing some stuff here to hopefully make that family a little bit bigger here soon. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can touch on that later. I don't know if we want to get into that now.
Well, I mean, I guess how do you keep people from getting burnout? Because I mean, doing the content creation, Pam is a huge help to me. It's a gloat on Pam Day.
I feel like
you do such a great job behind the scenes, and I'm being completely honest, of formulating the questions, researching who's coming on the show, having a plan, making sure they know exactly what the questions are, so no one's blindsided by something that they don't want to talk about.
Yep, I think that's important.
So, but how do you keep people from like burnout and overwhelmed from, that perspective? Do you help behind the scenes on that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I have a lot of really good hosts and folks that are coming in, and because I do so much of the work ahead of time, they kind of have their flow, they know what they want to do, they get familiar with their questions and stuff.
Okay.
They do a lot of that in preparing their guest. So I'll just be in the room kind of being like, hey, there's this and that. But I think, again, what helps them from getting burnout is that's all they have to do. They just have to go, oh, here was my guest. What do I want to know from them? Like, how do I want to know about them? So that keeps it going. And then, again, I'm always here. Like, I think that also helps take the pressure off of them. I'll be in the room and I'll be like, hey, hold on. Can you clarify this thing you said? Because I have no idea what this means. And I don't think your audience would either. So that's the other kind of true producer hat that I wear. Because we didn't even go into all the roles that, like, really need to happen for a podcast to go really well, but there's like that producer hat of really just looking, does it make sense, are we getting the things to tell a proper story?
And you're completely behind the scenes?
Yeah, there's only one podcast that I'm on.
Okay.
Otherwise I'm behind the scenes for all of them. Yeah, usually sitting right over there behind the camera.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is where I want to be right now.
Well, she's the producer and the host.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work, right? Because you're also having to think about, and that's why it's also nice to have that producer side. Because when you're trying to ask these questions, a lot of my guests are also thinking about, all right, what did people say so that I can summarize it based on what they're saying? What's the next question? You have all this going on. You're not thinking, does this make sense? So that's why it's always great to have that extra person in the room too, to be like, hold on, I have no idea what this acronym is, and your audience is going to be so lost without it.
Do you stop the podcast then and then restart it, or? Yeah,
well, yes, that's also the other reason my clients love me, is because I'm very much of just like, I can work magic on the back end and help with a lot of things. So yeah, I'll just be like, hey, I'll usually just kind of like wave my hand, and at the moment they'll be like, what do you got? Or one of them will actually just take a break kind of near the end. It's like, anything I missed, Trent, or like, what are you feeling?
So they can summarize it at the end?
They can summarize it, and then also ask, like, are there any questions that I'm missing? Because sometimes, again, being a listener as, like, that audience member in the room, I can
totally
be like...
different perspective, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I was really interested when you talked about this part of your career, and I think your audience would be, too, because it ties into your podcast this way. Can you ask something about that?
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward for the guests, because then they're like, wait, you asked me the question, but I have to wait for the host to say it again? So they, like, hear the same question twice. And if they're not used to, like, a production environment, it can be a little...
Yeah, I guess if it's somebody that hasn't been on a podcast before either, that can be maybe a little challenging, and it may kind of break the flow of the conversation, but from an end user point of view, I think that's super important to make sure that you circle back on things that maybe were overlooked, so that your audience has a better understanding.
Yeah.
We need a Trent.
We do.
I'm here.
Oh, wait, he's right there.
Got a beautiful studio. This plan is working perfectly.
I know.
I was gonna go
Oh
this
man,
well.
he got us right in, didn't he? It's a bait switch thing. Just kidding. All right, can you walk us through how you help someone turn an idea into a full show? What's the creative process like when you're developing something from scratch with a new host?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to give away the farm, obviously, but walk us through it.
I've got. I'll just start, I guess. I've got Pam. She does the research on the guests, formulates the questions, comes up with the show flow, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, when I have someone coming to me for the first time, usually they're just like, I want a podcast, and it's a big idea, right? They're not like, hey, I have this perfect idea. They're like, I want to talk about the people of Snohomish, let's say. Let's use that example, right? It's like, I want to talk and highlight the people of Snohomish. Okay. What about the people of Snohomish? What makes it unique, right? Like, we kind of go through this process and conversation of like, what do we really want to do? What's kind of a creative name with this, right? Because sometimes everyone's a little different and every situation's different. So sometimes it's like, hey, let's come up with a name, and then we'll also come up with kind of the story behind it or what we're doing. Other times it's like really focusing on what do you want to do, and that'll help produce the name. That was a really bad explanation, but you can always.
Well, no, you
We
touched on
get
that
it.
before.
Yeah.
You're. Hey, you said this word, and this should probably be the name of your podcast.
Yeah.
I think that probably helps people that initial conversation there decide whether they actually really want to do a podcast. And I think that's super important, because it's the idea of doing a podcast is a fantastic thing, and anybody that can should. But if you don't understand what's really involved,
Well, yeah, actually,
I'm getting the on the nose side.
on the nose. I think you hit it really well. What I was a better way for me to explain this. When I first have a conversation with someone that's like, hey, I want to do a podcast, I'm like, awesome, let's talk about, do you understand what this takes, what it wants to be, like, what's your end goal with it? Because I think that's another thing that I have when I converse with people. Like, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, do you want to get followers? Do you want to educate? Do you want to make money off of it? Like, what's the goal of the podcast too? Because a lot of people don't necessarily.
Yes is the answer.
I know, I know, right? It is always yes,
Yeah.
but you kind of have to do some different things depending on what it wants to do, right? Like, if you're like, hey, I want to monetize this and make a lot of money off of it, but I'm not going to put any money in. I'm going to film this in my closet.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Might
happen.
not equate,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I like to talk about, people to understand what level of a podcast are you really looking at doing, and then can I help them? And then if they're like, oh, I want to move forward with you and get working, that's when I get more into the nuts and bolts of really working to them, like I talked about of, okay, let's deep dive this. Let me be your coach. Let me be your producer, and then really break it down and get going. But yeah, I always love having that conversation first of really what do you want out of this.
Yeah, I think that's super, super helpful for people, especially the more creative types that are like, woo, let's do this.
Well, yeah, it's like, when you're looking at a business from a high level, you've got the visionary and then you've got the people underneath, right? So the visionary is fantastic, but somebody else needs to help bring that vision to
Execution.
life. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Okay. I think that's a really great place for people to start. I think, you and I talked about maybe doing a series of podcasts about podcasting, but having that initial question, I think, is a great takeaway for somebody before they have the rest of the conversations. Like, okay, what is your end goal with this? What do you want to do? But you talked about monetization and things like that, so let's kind of dig into measuring the success of a podcast, because that means something different to everybody, right? I myself will say I love a good download of statistics. It's it's the nerd in me. But what does success really look like in podcasting today? Is it about the download numbers? Is it about the community, the impact, or something deeper? And I kind of know what you're going to say about this, but I want you to kind of tell us from your perspective as a full-on producer of podcasts.
Yeah, my answer goes back to depends what your goal is.
I knew that's what he was going to say.
Right, like
Great consultants.
Yeah.
It depends.
I mean, it really is true. Like, an example would be if you're trying to put out something that's educational and you want to inform people and have an impact in how they're doing things in their lives, do you really care about the number of downloads if you're getting, like, again, it might not be hundreds of thousands of people, but if you're like, oh, I listen to your podcast and this has helped change the way I think about things. And if you're getting that once or twice a week, maybe that's more impactful, right? And also it depends on your audience. Like if you're like, I do underwater basket weaving, you're not going to have hundreds of thousands of millions of an audience.
For a second there, I thought you were telling
It's
us
a
that
little
you did
bit of
that.
a
No.
It's a niche. I mean, I haven't seen it done before, but I mean, it might be interesting for one podcast.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is like, depending on the niche, maybe that's a poor example, but there are some
I
of
love
those.
that example.
yeah.
You just keep coming with them.
But like the underwater, like just something very specific. Like your audience also isn't going to be that big. So if you
Yeah.
want a lot of monetization, you want a lot of numbers, it's like you need to do something that's going to have more of an audience. But then you also run into the whole thing of that's a completely oversaturated market, so you need to find a
Sure.
way to differentiate yourself from it. So
Well, maybe I'll just answer the question. For us, for me, in general, it's just to build community. That's it. That's it. I mean, and if you want to work with me and buy or sell real estate, then let's talk about that. But
well, I'm curious, Troy, when you say like that's your success measure, how do you? I completely agree. I love that answer. But how do you actually know that you're reaching that target and that's happening?
well, I do have those conversations with people. Hey, I listen to your podcast, and sometimes I'm completely surprised because it's someone out of the blue. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Other times it's other people say, hey, I listened to blah 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 show, and I really liked it, or yeah.
I think also, when we're out and about and we're networking, people coming up to us and saying, I have somebody that would be a really great guest for you, which means that they're invested in the show enough to say to us, this person might be a really great person to have on the show to talk about this XYZ. I think that's a good measure too.
Yeah, and followers or downloads or whatever, we track that stuff, but that's not really success to me. For me, that I started my show because I wanted to build more community and get to know the people in my community, and it's networking is good, but you don't go, it's news, weather, and sports. So, diving into someone's business and hearing about their business baby, I mean, that's really nice.
Well, and I think you kind of hit the heart of it too. If you want all of these other things to happen, the monetization, the large downloads.
That's why I said yes is the answer. Let's do it all.
Yeah, and you have to start there. You have to start with caring and actually being genuine and wanting something else out of it. And then people will hear it, recognize it, and be like, oh, I want to keep listening to this because I can relate to it. You make it become a person and not something that you're just trying to do for downloads.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we talked about misconceptions about podcasts earlier on. I think, that the idea that a podcast is going to be super successful from the get-go, in that you're going to have hundreds of thousands of listeners and follows from day 2. That's not realistic. No. From my experience of podcasting, it's not. I mean, there are people that it does happen for, but again, it's who's your audience?
Yeah, and the thing I say about with podcasts, you're not going to grow your audience necessarily with a podcast. You're going to deepen that connection with your audience.
Yep.
Yes, because if you're like, who is it, Amy Poehler that just started hers, and they have marketing and her own social media channel just for her podcast and everything like that, yes, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of downloads right away because you're famous. You already have that audience.
She's famous.
Right, you have that audience,
Yeah.
right? That's the thing, is
I've
she
never
has
heard
it.
Really?
I'm under a rock, I guess.
Again, not everyone, but I think that like also highlights right? Like you're not going to get everyone. It has to be people that already know about you to really
She has a
deep dive.
built-in audience already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Okay.
Well, for someone who's curious or hesitant, what's one step they could take to get started?
Do you start on a podcast?
Yeah.
The right path, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the business the answer is come visit me. The other,
RedTrux.com.
yeah, redtrux.com, TRUX. The other option is really just start writing down ideas, start writing down thoughts. Listening to other podcasts too actually is a really good way, because then you can start hearing the different styles, different cadences, different ways to do it. Because again, there's no one right way to do it. So just being able to understand the different ways, hearing what works for other people, things like that, some of the best ways to start.
Right.
And when you say listen to other podcasts, would your recommendation to be to listen, firstly to listen to podcasts in the same niche as what you're thinking, or would you have people kind of broaden the horizon on what they're listening to?
I think you definitely want to broaden your horizon and just listen to a little bit of everything and try and find maybe the stuff you wouldn't think you would listen to. Because again, if you listen to everything in the same niche and it all sounds the same, and you're trying to replicate something that's already there, you're going to blend in. You're going to kind of get lost.
You want to stand out. You
Right.
want to be in with the mix, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can go in and create what sounds like an audio drama and you're talking about, I don't know, underwater basket weaving, you're going to stand out more than that I'm sure, very saturated market.
For the basket weaving,
Let's
yeah,
create
maybe.
drama around underwater basket weaving.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even imagine what that was.
All right, so you said write things down. Can you give us kind of like 5 bullet points of what should be on that little, you know, kind of to-do list or bullet point for getting started? So,
Yeah.
Redtrux.com. Trux.
Yes, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
No, I think when you're really writing this down to just kind of collect your thoughts, right? Like that's really what you're trying to do with this. I think really writing down what's the impact you want to have on people? What's this impact you want to have? What do you want people to walk away with? Yeah, and just some of the other ideas, I guess, and like thoughts that keep coming to your head of like, this is really important to me. Because sometimes, especially when you're starting off, you don't know what the context is. You don't know what it is. You're just like, I know this is important, but I don't understand it. And if those are the things that are stuck in your head and you're like, I can't get this out of my head, just write it down.
Yeah.
Because then that's when you get to work and talking with someone and suddenly it'll just click.
Yeah.
yeah. And if you can't write it down, do a storyboard with pictures. Just, you know,
Voice note on your phone,
any way
anything.
that you can just get those ideas down on paper helps you then kind of like unblock and really get an idea of where you want to go with that.
And then you sometimes you get like 5 or 6 of them that come out. You write them all down, put them all out in one image on a table or something. You're like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know for me, whenever there's a problem or some sort of challenge to get through, just taking a step back and realizing that, you know, the house isn't on fire. You know, if it is, I should probably call the fire department. That would be my first step. But most of the things in real estate or podcasting, you know, it's not super urgent. So take a step back, take a walk, change your environment.
Yeah.
Go look at some art or do something like that that gives you inspiration. That's helpful for me.
Yeah.
To kind of get through some blocks or if there's a challenge in business.
Yeah, for me, because I'm such an extrovert too, I love just going and talking and brainstorming with people too, right? Just like go to find that friend, like, hey, we haven't caught up in a while. Like, do you mind if I pick your brain while we get lunch?
Yeah.
It's funny because you're sitting across the couch from 2 introverts.
Yeah.
I think I would add one more thing to that is really just remember that podcasting is supposed to be fun, right? So even if it's a serious conversational topic that you're choosing to talk about, you should be enjoying the process and, you know, giving back or whatever it is. So if it isn't fun, like Troy said, take a step back and really reassess kind of where you're going with that. And then if it's really a struggle, if you're trying to do it on your own, it's time to bring in the big guns. It's time to bring in Red Trux.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I would have met you 3 years ago.
Me too. You know how much stuff I've had no, I just mean, you know how much stuff there is to learn about podcasting. So as somebody who has done it for Troy, I was on another podcast. That's how Troy and I got this conversation.
And you're on a radio show.
Yeah. But when Troy said, I want to do a podcast, I'm like, okay. So there's a lot to learn. So if you don't, like you said before, the time to do it, you are the person that people should come talk to, the person that has all of that expertise, because it is going to take time and energy to set it up and get it going the way you want it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you.
Troy's just lucky.
Mic drop right there. I'm lucky. I just caught that.
I said, yes, you can do the podcast. I'll make it happen. And we did. So.
Yeah. We turned our boardroom into a podcast studio, and then table makes all kinds of noise, and big trucks drive through the parking lot.
Well, the funny bit was I kept putting it off, and one day I turned up at the office, and here was the Rodecaster Pro sitting there with mics and headphones. He's like, we're doing this.
That's one way to say, yep, we're doing this. Yeah. Awesome. That's amazing.
Oh. So I know our podcast is about building community, and a lot of them are about that. So we always like to round the show out with asking our guests if they would be willing to share hidden gem or gems in your community that you like,
Oh my goodness.
that you like to highlight anyway?
In our community, there's so many up here in Snow.
Oh, I know.
There's so many
I know.
of it. But I have to give one of our hidden gems in
Okay.
Woodinville,
Oh,
just
okay.
because it's me and my wife's big one. It's where we got married.
Okay.
Right before the pandemic. We were the last ones. Some of them still might remember our wedding because it was like literally the last
The
thing
last one, huh?
before things shut down. And that is Novelty Hill.
Okay.
Beautiful winery. They have
Yes.
some absolutely amazing food. It's kind of hidden. A lot of people might not know about it, but it's beautiful. And they actually have a secret room downstairs, the barrel room.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it is absolutely stunning. It's a boardroom that you can rent out. At least they did. I don't know if it's still there, but it was beautiful. They had it all lit up, bunch of barrels, massive 15-foot long like wood slab table.
Oh, okay.
It's incredible. So
I've never been down there.
yeah, no, Novelty Hill, beautiful place. They were so great helping us out with the wedding, and the food there was amazing. And yeah,
They do
such a good
music
time.
on Wednesday nights, or at least they did last summer. So
Yeah,
check them out.
definitely go check them out.
I love the architecture there too. It's modern and
So
Super
so
sleek.
interesting, and they have some cool history too, like
Yeah.
native history in there
Yeah, yeah.
and everything too. So yeah, it's definitely worth the trip.
yeah. Mike Janik used to be the head winemaker for Chateau Saint Michel. Then he went out on his own, and now his son's the winemaker. So I kind of love that legacy.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I didn't
Yeah.
realize all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
even more reason to go check it out. I mean,
Yeah.
the wine is amazing too. Like
Yeah,
we
for
love
sure.
the
I was
rosé.
going to say, who's going to mention that the wine's really good?
Yes.
All right. Well, we appreciate you letting us know where you got married and that's your hidden gem for Woodinville. This has been a fantastic conversation. I feel like we could just keep talking and talking and talking. That's why I mentioned maybe we need to make a little series out of this. So if you're enjoying the conversation, let us know and we'll have...
So is a podcast about podcasting like a Seinfeld episode, a show about nothing?
Maybe.
You know what? I don't think I've ever watched Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I put
Must be
one
an
last
American thing.
little pitch in here?
Of
Yeah.
course.
And I'll let you know if we'll use it or not, because I really want to do this. But basically, one other thing that I'm working on, I'm working on creating something called the Snohomish Podcast Network. And what this is basically when we talk about expanding the family, this is a place where other podcasts can come in. I can help with their hosting, as well as once we start building it up, we can actually start getting more advertising money and actually making it monetization for our different podcasts that are in our community. Again, looking at keeping it Snohomish County. I know Woodinville's great, splitting the border.
Yeah, you
it's
guys
Snohomish
are
County.
great.
But we really want to do that, as well as I want to have a personal in-person networking aspect of it, right? So
Okay.
we can keep building the network of all the podcasts that are in the area. How do we build all of our podcasts and build this community? Because there's so many great podcasts, and I know none of them get as much love as they deserve. And like we talked about, everyone's wanting to get more local and hear these local things. So I want to bring all of these local podcasts into one spot, so it's really easy for everyone to find.
I love that cross-pollination aspect.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
When you and I met for coffee to talk about this show, that was one thing that you mentioned, and I was like, got all excited about it. Twitter-pated about it.
Twitter-pated.
Twitter-pated. You know, the idea of having people come together and, like you said, the cross-pollination, but inviting people from this networking onto each other's shows to show, you know, for growth and growth of community, growth of listenership, but just really
Well, I think
how
we-
we can help each other.
Well, and we all have so much value to add to people, and it's just, you know, you don't know it, you know, and some people are reluctant to share it, but they have so much value that they can add to others. So I think that's great.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to get this really off the ground rolling this summer, getting it out there. There's going to be lots of different perks for the podcast that join in as well, with access to me in the studio as well. So hoping by the time this one comes out, this will all be launched and we can include this in here, and
Cool.
people can go check that out. It'll be snohomishpodcast.com if you want to learn more.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it will definitely be in
Good
the
plug,
show.
good
So
plug.
absolutely, and you can make sure
Happy
you
to help.
send us information about that too. So, all right, we're going to take a really quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to dive into our real estate roundup, where I asked Troy the real estate question of the week. I don't know if he's looked at his notes, so if he even knows what the question is.
I'm reading them now.
Okay, great. Glad to see that you're organised and ahead of the game. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this very short break. Welcome back to TLC, Tend Life Community Podcast, where we're all about podcasting today. Like I said before the break, great conversation. Before we sign out for the episode, we'll make sure to get Trent's information, you know, where you can contact him on his website, his phone number, all of those pertinent details. But for right now, it's the question time. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is a conversation we've been having for probably the last couple of years, but we do talk a lot about interest rates and how everybody is waiting for them to come down. It seems to be a question I even get asked weekly now that people know that I work for Troy. Is like, okay, what do you think about the interest rates? Well, here's what I'm going to say. The Fed is holding steady right now.
Yeah.
So, so far this year they've held steady with it. So let's talk a little bit about this kind of interest rate obsession and how letting the number, whatever that interest rate is of the day, is stopping people from moving, and that might be a misstep for them. And we're talking about moving as opposed to first-time home buyers here, because I think that will kind of alleviate some of the mystery from it. But let's talk about that. Why might that be a misstep for people if they're just focusing on what the Fed's doing with the interest rate?
Yeah, I mean, you can't control interest rates, right? Interest rates are not tied to the short-term, or mortgage interest rates are not tied to the short-term rate, which the Fed adjusts, and they just met and decided to keep it steady and not do an adjustment this time down or up. So, the mortgage rates are really tied to the 10-year Treasury more so, and that's the bond market. So those are the safe investments, and those are still producing some good returns, which keeps your mortgage rates up. So there's a delta between what a bond return is and what a mortgage rate should be, and it's typically around 2%. So, waiting for interest rates to come down doesn't make a lot of sense, because there's different alternatives that you can get into. We can potentially negotiate a rate down by a seller credit. We can, if you wanted to transition from you're in a house that's no longer fitting your needs and you need to downsize, and you don't want to pay a higher mortgage rate for less of a house. That's a conversation I have every day. And so, you can buy the rate down so that you can have a more long-term savings that way. And sometimes the seller is able to participate in that through a seller credit. So, and then, what if you can afford the mortgage payments, and the house just isn't the right fit for you? I think it's, that's a good conversation to have too. If, if it's uncomfortable to live in the house and you need to transition, then, if you can afford the higher rate, then I think you should do it. And then there's, we've had this conversation or this phrase for a few years.
Please don't say it.
Date the rate, marry the house.
Oh gosh, I hate that phrase.
Me too. It's cheesy and it's salesy. But there is a little bit of truth in that the rate, if the rates do come down, you do have an opportunity to refinance. And there's different rules of thumb to that. If the rate drops by one percentage point to where you're at now, then it really makes a lot of sense to refinance. Although there's, it really depends, and that's I know that's not a good answer for anyone. But waiting for rates to come down. I talk to people, and they're also waiting for the housing market to crash, and we haven't seen a decline in the housing market. I think the first time we saw that was in 2007 through 2011, 12-ish, when we saw prices go down. And that was really kind of the first time in history. We've seen small dips here and there, but this is the first time that was an event that really stuck in people's mind if they had to live through that. I know it's stuck in mine. But, there's a first-time home buyer, the stat, a couple years ago was they were 34 years old. They were when they buy their first house, and now that stat has gone up to 38. And so there's the most amount of 34 to 38-year-olds entering the market over the next 6 years. So I don't see, so housing demand is going to be there, and I don't see inventory levels rising to the point that is going to take up that demand. So, waiting for a rate to come down when you really need to get into a house to, what's the right word? Make your life better. I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. So basically, waiting for the perfect rate could mean that you're missing out on building significant equity. So equity, if you're
that as well, yeah. I mean, there is a stat, and I don't know the numbers, but it's very significant. Your equity over time as a homeowner, your wealth is like 300 times greater than that of a renter.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, and that's long-term wealth.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're in a home, don't focus necessarily on the interest rate, or try not to. We know it's hard to say don't do that, but think about the equity building potential of moving.
Yes.
Okay.
For
right.
sure.
Okay. I'll sum it up.
And if if the house, if it needs some renovations or things like that, and there's different options like home equity lines of credit to pull some equity out to make it the way you want it to, and then there's also reverse mortgages. If you're of a certain age and need to, you can do a purchase on a reverse mortgage and not have a mortgage payment at all. Sell your existing house, use that equity to put into another house, and then that reverse mortgage would be part of the expense of the house.
Okay. So I feel like there's lots of different conversations people can have that to take away from always thinking about the interest rate. So if somebody wants to have a conversation with you, Troy, whether that's about interest rates or whether it's about moving or any of those plethora of things that you talked about just there, where would they get hold of you?
Yeah, tendhometeam.com, or by phone and text 206-504-3660.
Okay. Trent, back to you. So I want to do a podcast. How do I get hold of you?
So if people want to get a hold of me,
Let me ask the question again.
fair enough.
If so somebody wants to do a podcast, they're all excited about it, how do they get hold of you and start that conversation?
Yeah, I would say go to Red Trux, REDTRUX.com. There's a contact me page. Fill out that form, it'll get to my email. I will reach out to you. Probably one of the best ways. I'm also on Instagram, Red Trux WA. If you want to find me there as well, to just kind of see some more tips and tricks there as well, and follow me, and join the conversation.
Perfect. I think that's great. If you even got an inkling that you want to have start a podcast, Trent is definitely the person to talk to. Well, that's all we have time for this week.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us at your studio.
Yeah, I
This is
know.
weird.
Like, I could get used to this. I'm sitting on a couch. I've got a glass of wine. I feel like
You
I'm
got your
at
legs
home.
crossed.
My chair's not squeaking this week.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, that's what I try to do. So I appreciate that you all were able to make it up and making the trip up here. And I'm glad you feel so comfy. I know, maybe not true comfy yet, because this is your podcast, not your normal setup, but that's what I try and do, is want people to feel at home here.
Yeah,
so.
you've done that for sure. Thank you.
That's absolutely great. Well, thank you very much. I am going to give Troy one opportunity to say his phrase.
Porch pounder.
There you go. If I didn't...
I missed it this week. I was off my game.
I thought you were going to say it when we were drinking the wine.
No, because this is not a porch pounder.
No, I know,
sure.
but when I said it definitely felt like a summer wine, I expected him to jump in with that, but that's besides the point. All right, so if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe and share with your friends, family, your community, and if you're watching on YouTube,
Ding the dinger.
all right, until next time, people, thanks very much for listening.
Bye.